Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. So today, my group and I would like to talk about budgeting basics, which is tips for managing personal finance effectively. Next, definition of budgeting. Budgeting can be defined as the process of planning and allocating financial resources to achieve specific goal within a period, usually a month or a year. It involves estimating your income and expenses to ensure your spending align with your financial goals. Next is tips for managing personal efficiency. The first one is set clear expectation, which is define rules and responsibilities. Second one is provide regular training, which is enhance employee skills. And the third one is optimize workloads, which is balance tasks effectively. And the last one is offer incentive, which is reward high performance. Furthermore, we're going to talk about importance of budgeting. Firstly, reduce financial stress, which means manage budget and avoid unnecessary debt. Secondly, build financial stability. It refers to create a strong foundation to avoid bankruptcy and foreclosure. The third one is prepare for emergencies, which means set aside money for unexpected event.
Managing your money using the 50-30-20 rule. Today, we're talking about the 50-30-20 budget rule. I know you've probably heard or maybe come across this rule before, and you might even know a thing or two about this rule. But in today's video, we will explain exactly what this budget rule means, how to use the rule, and what not to do, so that you can meet your financial goals. The 50-30-20 rule happens to be one of the best and most popular tools for people who don't have time to track all their spending. But what an easy way to manage their expenditure, save money, and control their money. The rule works like this. It requires you to divide your expenditures into 3 categories: your needs, your wants, and savings or debt. But now let's dive into the video. To help us illustrate this rule, I'd like you to say hello to John. John's an average guy who makes $4,500 a month after tax. Using the 50-30-20 rule, John will need to divide his money like this. 50% of his money, which is $2,250, will go into his needs. 30%, which is $1,350, will go into his wants. And 20%, which is $900, will go into his savings, or paying off debt. Just like John, you too will need to divide your income into those categories. Simple, right? But let's look at it a little closer. Step 1. Limit your needs. Needs are things you can't live without. These include things such as housing, health, transportation, utilities, food, paying off debt, and the bare minimum for clothing, shoes, and other living supplies. Only include items you can't survive without in this category. If you don't have a budget, this would be the ideal time to create one. Carefully analyze what you spend your salary on each month within this category. Warren and Tiagi, who are financial experts, say this category should not exceed 50% of your monthly income. If it does, then something is wrong. If you do, however, spend more than 50% of your paycheck on your needs, don't panic. All you need to do is carefully evaluate what you spend your money on each month. A good rule of thumb is to track your expenditure so you can have a good picture of where your money goes. Once you know where your money is going, adjust your needs by reducing unnecessary expenditures or find cheaper alternatives. Once your budget matches the 50% limit, you can now proceed to the next step. Step 2. Define wants. Now a whole 30% of your paycheck going towards your wants may sound like a whole lot of money, right? You may be picturing a nice pair of shoes or that new iPhone that got released the other day. As nice as all those things are, we're not talking about buying your deepest desires. By wants, we mean expenses you can opt out of spending on, but your life would be harder without them. I'm not sure your life will be any harder without that new phone, but you might find it hard to communicate without a mobile data plan. This category should include things like your internet plan, data plans, home cable bills, mechanical, not cosmetic repairs to your car, and so on. I bet you now get it. Sometimes it may be hard to distinguish between needs and wants, but the rule of thumb when it comes to defining a want is by asking yourself if you can live without it, and if you can, then it's most likely a want. Now the final step. Step 3. Save up. The final 20% of your paycheck should go towards your savings and paying off debt if you have any. This money can be used as an emergency fund, a deposit for a home, for investing, or savings for retirement. If you feel as though that 20% isn't enough, you can transfer more money from your wants list into this account. Now let's talk about the types of debt that should be included in the 20% category. The only debt that should go into this category is that which is above the minimum required payment. For example, additional credit card payments or extra payments on mortgage to clear your debts faster should go into this category. The minimum payments on debt should definitely go towards the needs category. The reasoning behind this is that the minimum required payments are compulsory, and failure to pay them would cause adverse effects on your credit status. Something you just can't live with. The 50-30-20 rule is great because it helps you track your expenditure easily. Having just 3 categories creates a structure that is easy to follow and helps one to focus and manage money better. It's less detailed, making it ideal for individuals who have busy lifestyles and minimal time available in a day.
To learn zero-based budgeting. Let's start the video. As the name says, zero-based budgeting is a method of budgeting in which all expenses must be justified for each and every new period, rather than a traditional budget that is based on previous budgets. In this method, every activity needs to be justified, analyze the costs of every function within an organization and then allocating funds accordingly, regardless of how much money has previously been budgeted to any given line item. What are the steps involved in zero-based budgeting? Step 1. Identifying the units. Identifying the decision units that need a justification for every line item of expenditure in the proposed budget. Step 2. Preparing decision packages. Decision package comprises the explanation of the activity, money involved, need for the item, the benefit arising from implementing the proposal, etc. Each decision package is an identifiable and separate activity. These decision packages are connected with the objectives of the company. Step 3. Rank the decision packages. This ranking is done based on a cost-benefit analysis. Step 4. Setting the budgeted priorities. Priorities are setting on the basis of the above findings to ensure maximum results. Now move on to the advantages of zero-based budgeting. 1. Zero-based budgeting helps in efficient allocation of department-wise resources, as it doesn't notice the historical numbers, but notices the actual numbers. 2. It helps in cost reduction as it gives a clear picture of costs, unlike the regular methods of budgeting, that involve in making some arbitrary changes to the previous year's budget. 3. Since every line item is to be confirmed, a zero-based budget overcomes the weakness of incremental budgeting. 4. It can remove excessive spending by re-examining possible unnecessary amounts. Let's discuss some disadvantages of zero-based budgeting. 1. Unlike traditional budgeting system, zero-based budgeting can be very costly, time-consuming, and complicated to execute. 2. Making an entire budget from the scratch may require the involvement of a large number of employees. 3. Analyzing every line item and every cost is a difficult task and requires extra training and managers.
The envelope budgeting system. Step 1. When you receive your monthly pay, first set aside money for savings. This is known as paying yourself first. Next, pay all your essential bills. Step 2. Divide the remaining amount of money into 4 different envelopes. These are meant for weekly discretionary expenses. Step 3. Spend on your weekly expenses from each respective envelope. You must stop spending if there is no more money in that envelope. Do not reach for the next envelope till the next week comes along. Step 4. Transfer what is left over each week into savings or use it to pay off a debt. This is a surprisingly simple but effective way to keep spending in check and to cultivate saving habits.